everyone, my name is Nathan and welcome to Hail. Charles Laughton is far from the first actor you might think of when discussing classic Hollywood stars. Despite starring alongside famous performers Clark Gable, Maureen O'Hara, Henry Fonda, Marilyn Monroe, Kirk Douglas, etc., he doesn't have the same fame today. Not only has he won the Academy Award for Best Leading Actor, he's also been nominated several more times, received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and played some of cinema's most iconic characters. I've seen 19 Laughton films to date, and feel like regardless of the film quality, Laughton always shines. He didn't have the traditional Hollywood star look and was even hard on himself for being heavy and unappealing to the eye, but these things have never bothered me about Laughton. In a world of copy and paste actors, Laughton stood out. He's become an all-time favorite of mine, and so I'm ecstatic to share my top 10 favorite films of his. Number 10 goes to On Our Merry Way. This is an anthology film with James Stewart, Henry Fonda, Burgess Meredith, and Charles Laughton. By all means, it should be perfect with that cast alone, but unfortunately it's not. The movie is a 6 out of 10 on a good day, but Laughton's segment boosted it up to where it is on this ranking. Here we meet Laughton's character, a priest struggling with his own faith. He has a very special experience leading him to believe again. Before On Our Merry Way's release, the director found Charles Laughton's segment to be too dramatic in an otherwise very comedic movie. Therefore, he cut his segment. The deleted segment can be viewed on YouTube, that's the way that I was able to watch it, and I've left instructions on how to view that in my Letterboxd review. I see why they cut it because it really doesn't match the flow of the movie, but it's just really too bad because it is by far the best segment of the movie. Laughton was a man of many talents. He could play the dramatic role, the town drunk, or the rich and spoiled king. My number 9 is Laughton in his Academy Award-winning movie, The Private Life of Henry VIII. I'm not the biggest fan of period pieces, but Laughton's extravagant and outlandish performance had me entertained the whole runtime. He plays the spoiled brat perfectly. The dinner scene with Laughton eating chicken with his bare hands has to be the most memorable of all. Whether you're a longtime Laughton fan or just getting into his work, this is required viewing. Although Laughton had plenty of leading roles, he made plenty of statements in his supporting roles. Number 8 goes to a little role in a big movie, Spartacus. It's hard to discuss this in terms of Laughton's presence, since he has so little screen time, but I will say that anytime he appeared, I lit up and became more engaged. His role here feels faintly similar to a later role he'd play, Senator Cooley in Advise and Consent. It's fascinating to see politics at work in such an early time period, and I think that's what's best about Laughton in Spartacus.
Let's send Glabrus against these scoundrels. Give him a taste of Roman steel.
At number 7, I have his second Oscar nomination, playing evil Captain Bligh in Mutiny on the Bounty. This was the only movie Laughton starred in to have won Best Picture at the Oscars. His portrayal of Bligh is the most memorable thing to me. He does a great job at being the dislikable captain figure with his brute manner and consistent frowning face. It's the type of performance and character that you dread to see until you realize you're anticipating any scene with him. He becomes a Dolores Umbridge, if you will, where it's the character that you hate but you love to hate. In fact, Laughton is really what makes this movie as good as it is.
I'll live to see you, all of you, hanging from the highest yardarm in the British fleet.
Taking a complete turn of character traits from Charles Laughton, number 6 is one of several comedic roles he played in his career. Now many come to mind, whether that be Marmaduke Ruggles in Ruggles of Red Gap, or his eccentric Humphrey Pengle in Jamaica Inn. However, my number 6 goes to Henry Hobson, the stingy owner in David Lean's Hobson's Choice. Hobson is a mess. He won't let go of his daughters, he doesn't want them to go off and get married, and he also loves to drink at any opportunity he has. This makes for a very goofy experience with several laugh-out-loud moments. The standout is without a doubt a scene in which Hobson is so drunk he's seeing things and confusing himself with each step he takes. I'm serious, if you don't watch Hobson's Choice, at least look up the clip where he's drunk because it is very memorable and hopefully that piques your interest and gets you to press play on the movie. I think the movie tends to spend a little bit too long with his oldest daughter Maggie, and that's only a complaint because I really just want to see Laughton, so anytime away from him I kind of get more bored and I just want it to go back to him because he's so entertaining and goofy in this movie. One really neat thing about Laughton's career was his talent in public speaking. He used to go on tours to read biblical passages or historical documents. Now, although Ruggles of Red Gap is only an honorable mention on this list, it might contain his best speech moment, where he recites Lincoln's Gettysburg Address.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation.
However, my number 5 movie goes to a lesser known flick with an equally powerful speech. That is, This Land Is Mine. In This Land Is Mine, Laughton reunites with frequent collaborator Maureen O'Hara. The movie was directed by French director Jean Renoir and is absolutely a hidden gem in his filmography. In it, a city is occupied by the Nazis, in which a gentle schoolteacher finds himself torn between collaboration and resistance, cowardice and courage. Charles Laughton is this schoolteacher. He really is kind of a mama's boy, where he hasn't really made too much traction in his life. He hasn't made too many decisions for himself, and you see that from early on, that he heavily relies on other people and he's just kind of a coward. However, he's the one that brings all the emotion to the movie. There's a scene where the town is locked inside a bombing shelter. They hear the bombs outside and Laughton's reactions feel just so genuine. He has great character progression amidst much bad luck, which leads to a powerful speech delivered by him in the film's final minutes. If not for Laughton, at least watch it for a well-done World War film. Charles Laughton starred in numerous anthology films. There was the previously mentioned On Our Merry Way, as well as If I Had a Million, O. Henry's Full House, and Tales of Manhattan. I've seen half of these movies, but would call Tales of Manhattan my personal favorite and my pick for my number 4 Laughton film. The difference between this and On Our Merry Way is I like all the segments rather than just Laughton's. The film's plot is basically a 1942 Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, except here you follow a tailcoat. You follow its progression as it's passed along from one owner to the next. Laughton's is the third segment, and so he's the third person to receive the tailcoat in the movie. And I would even argue that his segment is the most touching of all 5, and there are some very touching segments in this movie. He stars alongside his real-life wife, Elsa Lanchester, which is not the only movie that they star together in, but he plays a down-on-his-luck musician. When an opportunity comes to conduct a large orchestra, he's ecstatic to take it, but requires a new coat, hence how he fits into the plot. Now I'm going to spoil what happens next, so if you don't want to know it, just skip to this part of the video. Otherwise, I'm going to explain how the segment ends because I think it will help you in deciding to actually watch the movie. The night of the performance comes, Laughton is leading the orchestra, and as he is conducting, the coat tears. Now he is so distracted and so in the zone of conducting the orchestra that he doesn't even realize that his coat is tearing. The audience starts laughing at him, but they're facing his back, and so he doesn't know that they're laughing at his torn coat. He thinks that they're laughing at what he's conducting, at the piece that he wrote and spent so much time on. When he finally finds out that they were laughing at his torn coat, he rips the coat off in frustration, sits down, and just begins to cry. Now I will say the audience is really unrealistic. I mean, they laugh so hard to a point where it's like, okay, come on, no one would laugh this hard in real life, but I think it complements the story because it makes you feel that much more for Charles Laughton's character. Eventually, the man who originally gave him permission to perform in the orchestra in the first place stands up, removes his coat.
Continue. Please.
The whole audience sees this man, a highly revered, respected man in the community, and they soon follow his actions and each remove their suit one by one. It turns into a beautiful performance where Laughton ends up conducting the orchestra without a coat. Everyone in the audience has no coat, and honestly, it was just quite the It's a Wonderful Life ending, and it really stuck out to me. The whole movie can be viewed on YouTube. In fact, that's how I was able to watch it personally. I hope that it gets a Blu-ray release someday, but for now, YouTube is the best option. Number 3 is a bit of an emotional movie for me to talk about, as it was Charles Laughton's last role. It might sound silly to say that, but you get to know these actors so well. In May of this year, I had the chance to visit Charles Laughton's burial site in California, and that was such a special and almost even spiritual experience. Now, I tell you all this because it absolutely played a role in my viewing of my number 3 pick. We're back in the political scene for it. My third favorite Charles Laughton movie is one directed by Otto Preminger. It is Advise and Consent. This movie is all about Henry Fonda's character being elected to fill in the role of Secretary of State. However, he has to stand before a Senate committee to get their approval before the vote happens. Now, there's a lot of controversy to it. It's a political movie, and so as you could imagine, there's a lot of dishonesty, lying, and politics involved with these characters. And it's interesting to see how each of the characters have their own dark side, if you will, and they each play a pivotal role in the movie. Now, if the plot doesn't get you, it's actually really fascinating if you consider the the relationship between Charles Laughton and Henry Fonda in real life. They did not get along. I mean, you can look it up online what happened, but there's beef between the actors, and I know that they didn't like talking to each other in real life. And so to see scenes that they shared together in this movie, and also to see that their characters dislike each other in the movie, it was very interesting, and I feel like it's the closest I will ever get to having like a popcorn black and white movie watch.
We want to know what you intend to give away to the communists.
I don't intend to give anything away, Senator Cooley.
Why won't you tell us what your terms are?
Laughton gives a very unique performance. I believe the only one I've seen where he doesn't have his English accent. Instead, he plays Senator Seabright Cooley, a Southern man determined to stop Fonda from being elected Secretary of the State. I'm a sucker for courtroom dramas, and Otto Preminger made this one so engaging. The movie went in unexpected directions, and it had me engaged the entire 139 minutes duration. The film's ending hit especially hard, knowing that it was Laughton's final role, but honestly, that made it even better. With only 2 spots left on this list, it doesn't seem like there are many popular Laughton films left. You could even argue my top 2 Laughton films are his most popular films he made. Landing at number 2 is what I would call his greatest performance. It is 1939's Hunchback of Notre Dame. This was my first Laughton viewing experience, and even under all that makeup, I knew there was something special about him. He doesn't speak much in the movie, but his actions speak volumes. He's so good at playing this broken man and conveying that to the audience. One of the most powerful scenes is when Esmeralda gives him water. There's also, of course, the iconic rescue scene where he saves Esmeralda and yells "Sanctuary." But behind Laughton's powerful performance is a movie with epic sets, costumes, extras, and of course the emotional Victor Hugo adaptation. I love so much about The Hunchback, including the movie's final heartbreaking line, the final battle, but the best thing may just be Quasimodo laughing and ringing the bells. My favorite Charles Laughton movie is one that currently holds a place in my top 25 favorite movies of all time. It is one that meets all my wants from a movie. Great performances, directing, writing, and a twist ending never hurts. This movie has several. Directed by Billy Wilder, my favorite Charles Laughton movie is 1957's Witness for the Prosecution. I told you I was a sucker for courtroom dramas, and Witness for the Prosecution doesn't fail. It's based on the short story of the same name by Agatha Christie, and honestly, I prefer the movie to the book. Witness for the Prosecution gives you all the information you need, with enough room to make well-educated predictions. However, the performances and the writing skew the predicting and make it a genuinely edge-of-your-seat courtroom drama.
The question is, Frau Helm, were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not, in fact, a chronic and habitual liar?
Though Laughton is the star, Tyrone Power and Marlene Dietrich give great performances too. This movie gave Laughton his 3rd Oscar nomination for Best Actor in a Leading Role, as well as Billy Wilder a Best Director nomination and a nomination for Best Picture at the Oscars. Laughton's character is so grumpy, but you can't help but love his quips and fast comments.
Is there too much of draft? Shall I roll up the window?
Just roll up your mouth. You talk too much.
It's so entertaining seeing him break the case apart piece by piece. It's definitely my most watched Laughton movie, and it has plenty of rewatches coming in the future. I hope if nothing else this video introduced you to one of the greats. I can't wait to continue my watch of Charles Laughton's career. There are still many movies I have to watch, but as of today, this is my top 10. I would love to hear your favorites as well. Are there any movies I'm missing and ones that I should prioritize over others? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great day.